I took out a personal loan of $5,000 because I was making, a little bit less than that where I was. I took out a personal loan of $5,000 just to keep myself afloat for a whole month. I told myself I was going to give it a month, see where it goes. Fast forward a little bit, learn the process, didn't quit my first day. Thank the Lord. Didn't quit the first day, working 14-hour days. In my first 2 weeks, I wrote $16,000. And then my first full month after that, I wrote $47,000. And that was when I deposited the $27,000 from there.
What is going on? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. I'm excited to be here. And man, I've got a whole pad of notes and ideas and questions. Before the podcast even started, this dude is a maniac, and I'm excited to share his story. Also, if at any point during this, you would like more content like this, we do early releases of the podcast, live dials, courses, training, webinars, and extra content from our podcast inside of CA Studios. It's only $99 a year, by the way. It's like a Starbucks coffee a month, $8 and whatever a month, right? And so you can go to castudios.tv to check it out. I'm excited for today because this gentleman started in March of 23. He's been in the business 2.5 years. He was doing hospitality for, I think, 16 years. He said he was working until 4 a.m., which is nuts. We'll get into his story a little bit. When he jumped in the business, he was making $4,000. Before he started in the business, managed a GM of a bar, managed a restaurant, nightclub, etc. Then, boom, jumped into insurance, life insurance. Heard about it, said, yeah, maybe we'll give this a shot. And he earned $27,000 his first month, $30,000 his second month. And then a few months later, he was doing $50,000-$60,000 a month and counting. He also hit over $400,000 his first 8 months in the business, which is incredible. I don't think you guys realize how incredibly freaking rare that is. And he told one nugget that I'm about to jump into just a second. But please welcome to the podcast for the first time ever, Mr. Derek Thrasher.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Dude, thank you, bro. Well, quite the resume, man, for 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's been the shortest, longest 2.5 years of my life. In such a good way, though. Definitely a good way.
Hey, man. What's it feel like to go from being a GM working until, all night, 4 a.m., bars, restaurants, nightclubs to making 20, 30, 50 grand a month?
The best part about that was I was working till 4 a.m. My kids go to school at 7:30. So my window pretty much of sleeping, either I can see them when they leave in the morning or I can wait to pick them up at 3 o'clock. Then I go back to work at 5 or 6. So you start adding up the hours of how much you're actually seeing your kids and your family. It's pretty minimal when you kind of count it up over the course of a week. Monday through Friday, what is that? 10 to 12 hours, give or take. Saturday, working every holiday. It drains you out, and the thing about it was comfortable. I've been doing it for so long that I was so comfortable. Like I knew what I was going to get paid. I knew what was required of me. I knew how to do it, like the back of my hand. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they always say that comfort kills, right? It's comfort's where you go to, kind of bury yourself. And I felt that I was getting to that point where I'd worked. The restaurant was closing. It did have an expiration date. So I wanted to be proactive instead of reactive. So I basically said to myself, I have to find something else. So you go on, whatever job site that you're looking for jobs or careers or anything like that. And everything over 6 figures was sales. Needed 6 years experience, need 8 years experience, 4 years experience. Well, I've been in hospitality my whole entire life. I grew up that, loyalty is key with one company. I stayed with one company for 13 plus years. That's how I was raised. And that's how you get, to your next level of just keeping the loyalty. But when you're kind of there, it's like, I don't have experience doing anything else. My resume was just one company. That was it. I don't have the sales experience that these, places are looking for. Yeah. And then I was scrolling social media one day, found a gentleman that posted about life insurance, and I kind of knew a little bit about it. And I just DM'd him, popped in his DM, just said, what do you do? And kind of just give me a brief overview. The average sale is this. We work from home. We work from anywhere. They were just kind of switching to virtual sales at the moment. During that time, they were going in-home before, switching to virtual. Virtual is up and coming. I'm sure we'll dive into that in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But he kind of briefed me on it. We hopped on a call and I said, what do I do? And he said, pass this test. And you pass a life insurance test. It takes 10 days to, study for, pass it. And then you get contracted within 2 to 3 days. No sales experience needed. And say less. So for me, that was the biggest catalyst for me and how I ended up here. There was an expiration date where I was working, Super Bowl Sunday of 2023, which is right around February, we'll call it 10th or so. My son went through an episode of 9 seizures that night. I wasn't home because I was working. And that was the biggest kicker of I wasn't home. So, I had to leave leave the restaurant, leave where I was going. We had to take him to the hospital, so on and so forth. And at that point in time, it was what am I doing? I just got licensed. I just passed my test. I did the onboarding process, but once again, I'm comfortable. I made no action to move forward and actually do it. So that was the biggest kicker. And I knew at that point, I was I'm all in. I have to make this change. I need to be home. I can't not be home. And I have the vehicle that could possibly do it for me. So I went all in. I, spoke to the gentleman that I work with of 13 plus years. And I said, hey, I have to call it quits. I have to move on. And it was scary, terrified, absolutely terrified. And to say that it wasn't scary or terrifying is incorrect. I mean, it was the most terrifying thing that I've ever done. My first day of dialing, I tried to quit. I was just going to sneak out the back.
Shut up.
Yeah, I was terrified. And I kind of get all choked up talking about it. And I really was, I heard the dial tone. I was afraid of who's on the other line. I was so comfortable where I was that I wasn't allowing myself to move forward on anything else. I told myself, well, I'll just go bartend somewhere else and, make a living that way. So I took out a personal loan of $5,000 because I was making, a little bit less than that where I was. I took out a personal loan of $5,000 just to keep myself afloat for a whole month. I told myself I was going to give it a month, see where it goes. Fast forward a little bit, learn the process, didn't quit my first day. Thank the Lord. Didn't quit the first day, working 14-hour days. In my first 2 weeks, I wrote $16,000. And then my first full month after that, I wrote $47,000, and that was when I deposited the $27,000 from there.
Man, dude, why didn't you quit?
I knew what it looked like if I went back. If I didn't move, I was so stuck. And being a husband and a father, I wanted more for the current situation that I was in and we were in, and I wanted the generational wealth, and I wanted everything that came with that, and I wanted to provide. When I grew up, in my 20s and whatnot, everything that I wanted to do is I want to retire my wife. I don't want to, have her work. I want to have, not the nicest things ever, but I want to be able to provide where we don't have to worry. And I felt in my heart truly that this was the vehicle that could do that. Did I know that for sure? No, but I told myself that, and with the utmost conviction that I allowed myself to believe that. I told my wife that I was going to Hall of Fame. I told everybody around me that I was going to Hall of Fame, which is the $400,000 issue paid. And I told enough people that I was going to do these things that if I didn't, I would feel like I fell short of it.
Yeah. How does somebody go from, you said something I'm about to come back to in a second, but how does someone go from making $4,000 doing something else to depositing $27,000 their first month doing this?
How does somebody do that? The first thing is obviously passing the test, but
did you pass the test the first time?
No, I failed it.
I failed it twice.
Yeah, I failed it. I didn't take it seriously. I thought it was going to be one of those things where you could just walk into, kind of just read through it, didn't take it seriously, failed it the first time. That was June of 2022. It took me another 8 months to get back into the testing, but I knew that this expiration date was happening for.
Wait, you took the test originally when?
June of 2022.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it took me another 8 months to get back on the set because I was comfortable, right? I had a guaranteed paycheck coming in. I knew what was coming in on Friday, nothing to really worry about. Right. But I knew that where I worked, it was closing. So I had no choice other than okay, I'm getting real close, and I know that I can be proactive instead of reactive. So I have to do this now. So I dove in again and I passed it within 7 days. That was January, beginning of January. I didn't start life insurance until March. Why? Because I was comfortable, but I just had this thing in my back pocket that I'll use it when I need it type of thing.
You had it and you still weren't using it yet.
Correct. The amount of myself included, I'm a prime example of it, that comfort. You go to bury yourself in comfort. I mean, that was me. That was me to a T. And there's, that was, so from like 4,000 to 27,000, what does that look like? There's a lot of jobs that are very hard, right? Maybe they're manual labor. Maybe they are not where you want to be. Maybe the hours that you don't want to work, the stuff that you have to go through to earn that paycheck. The vehicle that we have here, you can walk in, work from anywhere at any point in time of day. I mean, pretty much, I think there's 16 to 17 dialing hours in the day just based on time zones. And we talked about a little bit before this about I'm on the West Coast. So I could start at 5 a.m. West Coast, dialing East Coast, work every time zone all the way backwards. It could be, I think, 11 p.m. here. I could still be dialing Hawaii, because we have the ability to work all 50 states in the life insurance space. So there's no excuse not to get it done if you want it to. Now, for me, I wanted it. Like I really did. I didn't want to go back to where I was. I wanted the financial freedom or financial independence to, take care of the household, and not have my, wife have to work and, my kids have to worry of, can I get the new bike or whatever it may be, So for me, the drive was just there and I didn't want to go back to where I was. And then I saw the first deposit. My first deposit was $1,300 after 3 days. And then 2 days after that, I got another $900. So in my first 5 days, I had already made my biweekly paycheck, right?
Wow.
Stack that up over the course of the rest of the month. And then you have like the first of the month hit on top of that. And I think I made $4,500 on the first of the month. So I was already at $6,700 to $8,000 in the first, 14 days. Well, I'm already 2 months ahead of where I need to be. And then you just for me, it was an obsession. I just kept on getting addicted to, the next deposit, and, writing the business and trying the different leads and whatnot. But, then my first month was April of 2023. I saw the end result of all of that was 27,000. So I wrote 47,000 and deposited 27,000 after some chargebacks and callbacks and everything. So
yeah, 75% advance and all that. Dude,
yeah.
That's incredible. I'm going to interrupt the podcast to tell you about our Kaboom leads that are literally blowing up. If you would love to never get disconnected numbers or wrong numbers ever again, then you will love our leads at Kaboom Leads. All of our lead types, we text the prospect a 6-digit security code. They go back in the funnel and put that in to verify that it is a real, accurate cell phone number, and they've responded to a text message. We do this for all of our lead types. If you haven't tried Kaboom Leads, you can use coupon code podcast to get 10% off of your very first order at kaboomleads.com. Back to the show. One thing I heard you say earlier that I was really enamored by, I relate to this so much in my story. You told enough people that you were going to hit $400,000 in Hall of Fame your first year in 8 months that you had to go do it. Why did you do that?
To set an actual goal for myself. I think there's a lot of times, and I'm still guilty of it at times. Like maybe you are as well, where you set a goal, you say you're going to do something, and you kind of say it, but maybe there's no action, at least for me. Not all the time, but on some certain things, maybe I want to lose 15 pounds or maybe I want to do this, or maybe I want to save X amount of dollars, but there's no real conviction behind it. But on my first day, I walked in, I was like, "Hey, Derek, nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm going to Hall of Fame this year." And everyone kind of looked at me and kind of just like laughed, like not like in a degrading, type of way. It's just like, they knew what Hall of Fame was, or they knew what 400,000 to issue was. And very few people in 2023, I would think where our current company is, we had 132 individuals hit Hall of Fame that year. It's more now just because the way that tech is and systems and everything like that. But I told enough people that I was going to do it, and I didn't really know what it was going to take. But if I set the goal so high, if I still come up short a little bit, that I'm still in a way better position than I'm at. Right now I'm currently training I'll use this as an example. I'm training for a marathon. I'm trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon.
Bro.
But the qualification for the Boston Marathon is 3 hours and 5 minutes.
3 hours and 5 minutes.
Right. And my last marathon, I did 3 hours and 48 minutes. So if I come up,
still really good, by the way, that's still really good. My first half marathon was an hour and 59 minutes.
You're flying.
It was half.
You're flying though. But so what I mean by that, if I come up short, I'm still in a better position than I was going to be. Right. Like if I set the goal of Hall of Fame, if I come up short, I'm still way better off than where I was. I'm still doing it at a very high level. That was just a goal for me, and that was an accolade that I wanted to achieve, and not many people were doing it at the time, and it sounded crazy at the time, but I told enough people that I was going to do it, and so I had no choice really. And then I did my first full month was 47,000, and I was like, okay, like based on how many months are left, if I track this pace, I can hit it, So that first month was a big caveat to all that. It was a big, part of that. If I did 20 or so, I probably wouldn't have felt that I could do it. But hitting 40,000 plus that first month, based on numbers and how many months were left, it could happen. So
correct. Yeah, it raised your belief. What's your schedule look like? What's your lead spend look like? Like, what I mean? Like, if an agent's like, dude, I want to go make 6 figures. Talk me through how to do that. Yeah.
So it's a little bit different now. There's 3 parts to it. There's been 3 years, 2023, 2024, now 2025. So 2023, I wanted to find the golden egg of leads, right? Everybody was switching from in-home to hybrid virtual. Virtual had just started becoming a thing. If you don't know what in-home versus hybrid was, is basically you had 2 appointment setting days, Monday or Thursday. You would dial through a bunch of leads, set yourself up a schedule to go in-home, travel. I mean, Maricopa County is massive. I mean, you're driving, you have 10 appointments, you have 10 opportunities.
That's Arizona, right?
That's Arizona. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Phoenix area. Yeah.
Yep. And Maricopa is massive. I mean, from one end to the other, it's probably 3 hours. So, and you don't really have control of where you're setting the appointments. You're just going to take whatever comes to you, in front of you, and you're going to map it out later and be like, oh no, maybe we skip that one, maybe we don't. But that one that you usually skip is usually the one that you hit the home run on. So you go to every single appointment. So that was in home. And then in 2023, they kind of, I think around COVID, they started making the change, but it wasn't as dominant as now, that they switched to virtual, where we're doing telesales. We get a lead list. We're doing different types of CRMs, phone numbers, systems, stuff like that to get a hold of the client. The best part is if somebody doesn't answer, you just call the next person, and then you call the next person, you call the next person. So my biggest goal was to find the next golden lead, the golden lead source, whatever it may have been. The first month I spent $9,000 on leads. Because I saw the deposits, and I was okay with putting that money right back in, because I knew building a life insurance agency was like building a business, right? I needed to, you're investing, you can't sell, candy out of the candy store if there's no candy for anybody to buy. So I reinvested pretty much everything back into the business. My wife and I were very calculated on our bills and stuff like that. We don't spend anything we don't need to. So I was able to do that. So when I made, 10 grand, 15 grand in my first, 30 days, I was able to just try other things and utilize those resources. So my first month, I spent 9 grand. I kind of scaled it back to 6 grand on my second month. I tried another lead source. It didn't work out. I spent 10 grand on that for a CRM system, so on and so forth. Now this is spending 10 grand off of somebody who's used to only making 4 grand a month. So I went back to my expenses for that May of 2023, and I spent like $23,000. And you don't have to do that, but I was trying to find the next best thing. Yeah. I was trying to find that golden egg, because I knew eventually I wanted to build a team and be able to tell, hey, Cody, welcome to my team. These leads are good. These leads are good. These leads are good. I'm skeptical on those ones, but try this and this and this and this. So I wanted to be able to have all the resources, be the Insuranceopedia. So I tried different things. I eventually found the golden egg. I found the niche that worked for me. My ROI went through the roof. My persistency went through the roof. But my schedule when I first started, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. dialing. Didn't leave my chair. I believe I gained 15 to 20 pounds just because I was, what did they say? I'd rather be, wealthy and little overweight than broke and healthy, I guess is my kind of philosophy on it. So, but I knew it wasn't permanent. I knew that it wasn't forever. I knew that if I locked in for 6 months to 2 years, I told my wife, give me 6 months to 2 years, and it'll hopefully change your life forever. So I knew that it wasn't forever. You don't have to sell forever in this space if you do it right. Yeah. If you take care of yourself, if you sell at a high level, then you can pour that into others, so on and so forth. But for me, I worked from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the phones, dialing, making dials in front of people, presentations. Wow. After I would go downstairs, do the family thing. From 7 to 9, I was doing either admin work, back-end admin work, setting up my next day, going over script presentations. I recorded a lot of my calls, so I'd go back and listen to the ones that maybe I flopped on, maybe I went through. And when you hear yourself on these calls, my biggest thing was like, would I buy from me? And if I could answer no, then I had work to do. And that was for a lot of the time. This is not a get rich quick. It might be a get rich for sure if you do all the right things. But for me at the time, I needed to get better. I wanted to get better. So I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. I sent voicemails to my upline and my mentor at the time. And I sent voicemails to him of like, hey, how does this sound? And he still has the voicemail. We still listen to it. And we actually use it in training now of how cringe it was when you first started. But if you apply yourself and make the changes that you need to, you'd be surprised where it comes out on the other side. When I was driving down to the office, I had my script on flashcards, intro, social, banking, those types of things, and objection handling. And during red lights, I would just pull it up and read it, and recite it. You have to say it out loud, because if you say it without actually saying it out loud, as you're not really, hearing yourself. Yep. When I was getting ready, I took those flashcards with me everywhere and listening to podcasts, YouTube's, yours, and there's other resources out there. YouTube University, people do live telesales, final expense scripts, final expense presentations. There's so many resources out there, and I tried to utilize them all. So it was pretty much like, what was my schedule? I'd wake up at 5:30, have coffee with my wife. We'd, get ready for the day. I'd go upstairs and just hit the phones at 6 o'clock because it was 9 o'clock on the East Coast. So they're already an hour into their day, or they're starting their 9 to 5. And then I just worked backwards. And then I worked all the way to 6 p.m., took a little break, 7 to 9, do a little bit more work, that type of thing. That was Monday through Friday. Saturdays, my thing was either 4 hours or a sale, whatever came first, to either catch up or get ahead. But I realized Saturdays are one of the best days to sell. So I started doing 2 or 3 policies on a Saturday. And then the ability to make as much as we do, if you do make a sale, if a client called me on Sunday, I'm taking that call as well, and like I said, it didn't have to be like that forever, and it hasn't, and it shifted that it isn't like that anymore. But that took, a year to 2 years of my life to hardcore dedication to get to that point. Now my schedule is a little bit different. I have systems set up where individuals can go in, book a time on my calendar, auto AI or AI pretty much, admin, text these people and books appointments and responds to them and kind of takes me out of the picture. So I have more time to do other money-making activities, training the team, developing that type of thing. And then I pretty much just call my appointments directly as they come in. I think every day right now I have about like 7 to 10 appointments just auto booked on my calendar, just tap them once or twice and that type of thing.
It's awesome. I love it. It's a lot of good information, man. Like you've got a lot going on, but you've figured out how to scale this thing and write a good amount of premium. Obviously you're writing and building, you're helping as well. At what point, if someone is considering transitioning to building, at what point should they may or may not consider that?
It could go two ways. For me, it was, I wanted to prove that this could actually work. I was 35 at the time when I made this switch. I had been in hospitality for 16 years, pretty much from 19 to 35. So I felt like I had to prove that this wasn't a scam. This wasn't an MLM. This wasn't, it actually is, those numbers are real and truthful. So I wanted to prove, one, to myself that it worked before I let anybody else into it. So I recruited, I think my first recruit came after about 4 months. If I had to go back and do it all over again, I would bring somebody with me. I would have a running mate, a road dog, whatever, terminology you want to use there. I would bring somebody with me to learn and grow together. That way, hey, because a lot of times you might not know the upline that brought you in. You might not know the individual that found you on, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever it may be. You might not know them directly, but if you're running with somebody that you actually do know, be like, you can have truthful conversations and honest conversations. Hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, this worked for me. And so it's just something that you guys talk about and becomes your normal day in and day out. I recruited my first guy after 4 months. I think I had 6 writing agents for the rest of 2023. 2024, January to December. I think we went from 6 writing agents to 47 writing agents. And then currently at the end of August of 2025, we have 80 writing agents right now.
Wow. Let's go, bro. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
It's awesome. I mean, you've accomplished a lot in 2.5 years, and to go from, hey, I'm bartending and working at restaurants and nightclubs to now I'm, I don't know. When do you hit when do you think you'll hit a 7-figure income?
From like a year, like a calendar year, a full 12 months for sure in 2026. I'm pretty close to the monthly, if you times that by 12, that would get there probably the next month or two.
Awesome, dude.
So it was 80, 83. So next month or two, it depends, I don't know how everything goes, but for sure 2026.
It's awesome, man. I mean, that's even by the end of 2026, you've been in the business 3.5 years, that's it's pretty remarkable to show that like what's possible when you dive in, when you commit and believe like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm getting to 400,000 my first year, and then you go do it, and then you invest in your business, you learn, you listen to dials, like you were fully committed, man. Like you can feel it, you can hear it in what you're sharing. If they want to keep following you and learn more about what you do, what should they do, or where should they go?
Yeah, I mean, we can put my phone number out there. I work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. So we can put my phone number out there,
sure.
949-584-2201. My Instagram is dthrash with 2 H's at the end. So we can add that on there as well. Cool. It's a full-blown career for me. It's, however you want to get a hold of me, if you want to, stalk me on fastpeoplesearch.com and, whatever you want to do. But however you want to get a hold of me, this is my calendar is always open in my Instagram. You can always book a calendar directly from there. Yeah. And however you want to get a hold of me, phone is obviously the easiest. Instagram's easier too, but
yeah, it's awesome, dude. I have a few other questions for some extra content behind the scenes for CA Studios, but thank you for all your sharing. Congrats on all your success.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you being a part of the Power Player podcast today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Dude, thank you. Also, thank you guys for hanging and listening. What an amazing freaking episode, by the way. Like, do you guys just hear what it's going on, dude? Like, man, from making $4,000 a month to making 27, like that is what is possible when you, if you re-listen to this, there is a bunch of freaking nuggets from my buddy Derek Thrasher that you need to be taking notes on, listening and going and applying and get to freaking work. Thanks for hanging and listening. If you want more content like this, you want to keep learning, obviously we've got 3,600 videos for free on YouTube, but we also have a bunch of behind the scenes stuff at castudios.tv. I'm going to go hang with Derek for a few more minutes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Power Player Podcast. Kabo.